Yes, you had me right. To all TikTok users in Uganda, President Donald Trump, the President of the United States of America, has issued an executive order as of Thursday, 6th April, effectively banning the use of TikTok in the United States of America. If you're a TikTok user and you'd like to understand how this executive order it will affect you as a Ugandan user, please stick around to this video as I will explain in detail how relevant it is to you, the Ugandan user. Hello, my name is Nagara Eve Joan and welcome to the Ask Me About the Law YouTube channel. So Ask Me About the Law YouTube channel is an addition of Ask Me About the Law blog and Ask Me About the Law podcast, which I'll leave linked in the description box of this video. Ask Me About the Law is a place where we have free and honest conversations about the law, because I genuinely love the law, and I would also like to use the opportunity to keep having honest conversations with you guys for free. That's the best part. So Ask Me About the Law mainly focuses on conversations in regard to commercial transactions as well as cyberspace. So if this sounds like something that you're particularly interested in, I encourage you to subscribe to our podcast, where we release new content every Sunday at 7 p.m. And again, I'll leave the links to the podcast linked in the description box of this video, and you can find the podcast wherever you get your podcast from: Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and also you can find us on our blog. I'll also leave it linked in the description box of this video, as well as YouTube. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is at Ask Me About the Law. Remember to share and like the videos so that we really appreciate it every time we get and hear feedback from you guys. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. The handle is at Ask Me About the Law. I'll also leave the handles to the Ask Me About the Law social media handles under this video in the description box. So to all my viewers and listeners who are not familiar with how TikTok works, don't worry, I got you. So like you, I must confess I was not very familiar with TikTok, so I had to do a little bit of research to understand how the app works. So ideally, in summary, the app works by allowing the user who has downloaded the app and created an account to create a 15-second video with animations and musical features, as well as any sort of way to boost and encourage engagement on their platform. So then the app allows the user to share the video they've created within the app itself with other users by sharing the content they've created in the video to other third-party apps. By third-party apps, I mean Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat, because of its share button. I don't know, doing all that research really got me thinking that maybe it's high time Ask Me About the Law endeavored to explore into creating a TikTok app where we'd try and share 15-second videos with you guys in regards to the new laws that are being issued in Uganda. So if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, please leave us a comment and like this video so that we can see how best we can work on that. If you have any comments and suggestions to this effect, or if you'd like to help me in thinking outside of the box, please share something, because like I said, I'm very new to TikTok, so I'm just trying to understand how it all works. Initially, TikTok was called Musical.ly. And Musical.ly was an app, like I said, with the same exact features that TikTok has right now, until ByteDance bought it and rebranded it, and also shifted the accounts that were Musical.ly to the current platform of TikTok right now. It is said that during the time of lockdown, TikTok is one of the 4th largest downloaded apps on the app stores. That is a combination of both Google Play Store and Apple Play Store. I really encourage you to keep watching this YouTube video, because I have a very big surprise for you, which I will share with you at the end of this video. So please stick around and keep watching so that you can be informed about this big surprise, especially if you have a business that you would need and also want to have promoted. So now I'm going to explain exactly why TikTok is being banned in the USA, and then I'm going to try to relate to you as a Ugandan user why this would be relevant to you. So according to TikTok's terms of privacy and their policy, it emphasizes that especially in regards to collection of personal information, and I've been preaching on this YouTube channel how very critical it is that we try to endeavor to protect and ensure that anyone collecting our personal information is cautious in how they use it. So according to the privacy of TikTok, it emphasizes that it collects your personal information, and I'm going to break down what they say in their policy to the personal information they collect. So one, they collect your payment information. So some users use TikTok for commercial purposes, the others just buy followers. And then remember, when you're buying followers, since it's an electronic transaction, you leave your card information and your account information to conduct the transaction. So in that process, TikTok collects that information. It also collects the information when you're creating an account on TikTok. So remember, like when you're creating any new account on social media, you need your name, your birth date, your email, which, like I said in my previous YouTube videos that I'm going to leave linked in the description box of this video, and I really implore you to check them out, because they will give a detailed explanation on what it means, on what really is personal data, what it means, and how you ought to be careful who you share with or to your personal information. So when you're setting up your account on TikTok, they'll collect your email, which again, like I said, if someone hacked your email, they can get to know a little more about you, or extensively know about you as an individual. And still, again, if you look at TikTok's privacy terms, it also specifies that if you link your TikTok account to any third-party accounts, TikTok will use that connection to gather and generate any information it can collect from the third-party apps, for example Facebook, to create a more user-friendly experience for you in the app. So what they do is they try and pick likes, for example, from your Facebook account, and then they use whatever they've picked from there to generate content on your, should I call it, timeline or feed on TikTok, so that they bring up videos that they think will be relevant to you and you're most likely to click on or watch. Remember, the TikTok is a business, so the more time you spend on the app watching, the more they make money. And the best way they can get you to keep watching on the app is to bring on your timeline videos that they think you may be interested in. So in them collecting all this personal data, they are actually making sure that you stay on the app. So now we need to understand why it's very important as a user for you to consent to have this personal data that I discussed earlier on, why it's important for you as a user to consent to have this data collected, shared, and used. So ideally, according to the law and Section 7 of the Data Protection and Privacy Act of the Laws of Uganda, specifically emphasizes that in regards to personal data and personal information, the data collector, who in this case is TikTok, has to endeavor to communicate to you, the user, seek your consent before they collect your data. So what I mean by this is, remember that very small textured lengthy text that always appears when you're creating a new account? So that is what we call the terms of privacy. The terms of privacy is ideally TikTok's way of communicating to you, the user, when you're creating a new app, on how they're going to, one, process your data, collect your data, and also generate information about you on the app, or share the data to third-party apps. So ideally, you should read through that text, which I know no one does, because I don't do. I mean, sometimes those things are like 16 pages, but that's besides the point. So legally, in the law, the working presumption is that as a user, you have read through the information, you have consented to that information, and that is why you have scrolled down to click on I agree or I accept at the bottom of that page when you're creating that account. So when you click on I agree or I accept, you are literally binding yourself in a contract. And what we normally presume in law is that, one, you have consented, you have acknowledged, you have made yourself informed of what the data collector is going to use, collect, or process your data for, and you are hereby agreeing to what they are saying. So ideally, I would highly recommend that you take time out of your schedule before you share out your personal information to really understand exactly how these apps are going to use your information, because sometimes they really know or dig into your personal lives and know a little bit more than what they ought to. Now we're going to understand what exactly amounts to consent. See, consent is not just about throwing the word around consent. The law has a specific criteria of what exactly is legally binding consent in this contract. So the GDPR is a very authoritative legal framework in regards to defining what is consent, and it stipulates that consent needs to be specific and unambiguous and also informed. So what this statement really means is that as a user, you need to you need to make consent after you have been informed on what your personal data being collected is going to be used for. So like I explained earlier on, by the data collector ensuring that they inform you through terms of privacy how they're going to collect your data, they are trying to inform you and meet the criteria provided for under the laws regarding informing the data subject. So when you click on accept, the working presumption is you are informed of how the data is being collected, processed, and you agree with it. Unambiguous simply means that it cannot be assumed that you have consented. It has to be specific and precise to the point, saying yes, I agree. So that's why at the bottom of the terms of privacy, it's normally something as simple as I accept or I agree. It cannot be presumed or hypothetical. It has to be strict and precise. However, the idea is that since this entire transaction is happening virtually online, ideally you don't need to have it scribbled down on paper and all that, which is normally the working framework of a legally binding contract. However, virtually the situation is a little bit different, and the working presumption is it need not be written or verbal, but by any form of action, it can amount to a legally binding consent that the law will recognize. So something as simple as clicking on I agree when you're creating an account would in law suffice to amount to you, the data subject, who has created an account using a TikTok app, amounting to you consenting to have your information collected. So legally binding consent is that the data subject needs to be informed in specific on the identity of the person collecting the data, who in this case is TikTok. So TikTok has to endeavor to identify itself to you. So ideally, if you read through the terms and policies of all these social media apps, they will endeavor in at least the first paragraph to introduce themselves to you. So Facebook, you probably see this is a Facebook account, blah 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 blah, at the beginning of the terms on privacy. So it's very paramount that they introduce themselves. And another thing is that they also have to give you a detailed account on how exactly they intend to conduct their mining of your data or collecting of your data. So as a user, then it will amount to you creating an informed decision on how comfortable you are with them collecting your data. So some will collect your data on the app itself. For example, when I'm creating the TikTok app, I'll use the TikTok app itself. Others will collect the data through third-party apps. So for example, when you create an account on TikTok using Facebook, say, and they're trying to create or understand more about you, and they collect your data from third-party apps. So some may be comfortable with having their data collected on the app, like TikTok. Others may not be comfortable with having their data collected from third-party apps. So the working presumption under the law is that in the same spirit that the data collector has endeavored to make creating an account so easy for you by agreeing, they also need to make the same situation very simple for you in regards to declining and also declaring a cease and desist of having your information collected. So what this means is that in their terms and provisions in regards to collecting your data, where they put agree, they also need to put disagree at the same exact font. So in order to try and meet the criteria, they ought to provide either the right for you to accept their terms or decline their terms, which then is a bit complicated because I may want to create an account on the app, but I don't want to have my data mined. So I genuinely find it a little bit of a sticky situation because it's, it's complicated. So in collecting personal data of minors, the law is very specific in mandating that the data collector ensures to get consent from the parental responsibility or the elder of the child. So ideally what this means is that regardless of the child being on the app and providing personal information, it's a responsibility of the data collector, which is TikTok here, to ensure that they get consent from the parents of the child. So parent need not be the one that gave biological birth to the child. Anyone legally recognized as the parental figure of the child can give his consent, provided the law recognizes you as the parental figure of. So to show how the laws are very protective on minors and children on the apps and in social media spaces, in February, TikTok was hit with one of the highest fines in the US and also in India for allegedly violating and exposing minors to pornographic content on their app. it is alleged that also TikTok was using this opportunity of having minors on their app by generating and collecting their data without any parental consent. So the ban was so drastic that TikTok for a few months was banned from the Google and Apple Play Store. Fortunately, a few months later, TikTok appealed the court's decision, and in India it was reinstated on Google and Apple Play Store. So Section 7 of the Data Protection and Privacy Act of the Laws of Uganda specifically prohibits the data collector, which is TikTok, from sharing any of the user's personal information with any third-party apps, especially without the consent of the data subject, which would be you with an account on TikTok. So ideally, the working parameters is that one of the reasons why a data collector may generate or justify collecting data of the subject is to create and improve the user's experience on the app. But it's very specific. The framework's application is very specific in requiring that the function of the use of the collected data only ought to be used to create a rather pleasant experience for the user. So if the data collector does not prove to the data subject that the data they're collecting is going to create a suitable user experience of the data subject on the app, then the user has a right to decline from having their personal data collected. So the responsibility here is on the data collector to prove that they need that information to create a very convenient user experience on the app. According to a recently released report by Unwanted Witness International, it reported that between the months of April and March 2020, Facebook was using SafeBorder was using a Facebook designed software called Software Develop Kit, which it used to mine and generate users' information without their consent and share that consent with third-party apps without the user's consent. So when approached about this, SafeBorder did not deny. In fact, in its updated 2020 privacy policy, SafeBorder did not deny the fact that it was using CleverTap now, which this is happening right now in their newly updated policy. It is using CleverTap tracker to track users on the SafeBorder app, as well as share information of the users to third-party apps. Now, the information they're sharing is something very basic, things like your geolocation. So remember, when you're pinning your location, your pickup or drop-off location, this is something that SafeBorder is disguised in a SafeBorder app, that it collects this information and shares it with other app developers who seek and are working with Facebook to develop different apps. So the fact that they're using your information as a parameter or as a roadmap to provide or generate new products for some people is something that they're not entirely comfortable with, because they're using the information to make money by making other apps without necessarily informing you about it or endeavoring to pay you for making your information available. So the fact that this is happening and the matter right now is raising a lot of political awareness and legal awareness in regards to requiring and mandating to have users that protected from being shared to third-party apps. So SafeBorder's situation can be applicable in regards to the current topic of discussion in regards to TikTok. In fact, the Chinese legal framework in regards to data protection and privacy is sort of something that is largely discussed in general discourse today, because China has one of the most controversial policies in regards to protection of personal data and privacy of its citizens. Chinese state law also requires and mandates that citizens as well as non-citizens, organizations and corporations, now TikTok would fall under this category, they are mandated and required to cooperate with the government, support the government, provide all relevant facilities in helping the government further its initiative in collecting and improving state intelligence in regards to data protection and privacy. Another provision under the Chinese law is that cooperation, and this again is in the context of TikTok, is required to And actually the provision, the specific word in the law is that TikTok shall work in hand in hand with Chinese state government agencies and intelligence to ensure that they provide and make and facilitate the intelligence organizations in furtherance of promoting and protecting the Chinese government. So ideally, if you see the context and framing of these laws, it really does not protect or guarantee independence of TikTok or TikTok as an app from state interference, because the laws of the land in China require that the state is supposed to be involved, and mandates that corporations such as TikTok are required to participate and help the government in furtherance of state intelligence. And you have seen, as I've been talking about in detail a lot on this YouTube channel and in my recent podcasts and also blogs, which I encourage you to check out under this YouTube video in the description box. I'll leave a link, especially in regards to opinion and also freedom of expression, which are largely policed by authoritarian states. So it creates a very sticky environment, because sometimes governments tend to interpret and abuse such power, especially in regards to policing, data protection and privacy, mainly for opposition leaders. So I really implore you to check out the link under this YouTube video, especially in regards to freedom of speech and expression, because it will really help you understand the argument I'm trying to push forth in regards to the Chinese state law. So remember, at the beginning of this video, I explained that TikTok has a version of the TikTok app in China, and it is alleged that in that TikTok app in China, that apparently the Chinese state officials have really had a robust influence on this app in regards to policing and monitoring content on the platform, to the extent that it has facial recognition on the app itself to prevent and also carry out policing on the app. So if someone said something that was against the government of China or was amounting to defaming the Chinese government, because of the facial recognition in the app, someone can easily be traced, and we all know what can happen to someone who's criticizing the Chinese government. There's also a report in 2019 that revealed that TikTok did indeed censor content on the app itself that the government of China was alleging that was defaming and also against the values and norms of the Chinese government, and the mention of the massacre in the Chinese square, the Tibetan independence, and also banned religious groups on the app, especially the religious Muslim minorities on the app. So this in itself should amount and explain to you in detail how very unprotected and violated as a data subject, and how the data you share on the app can be used to police you as an individual, even without you knowing about it. So we have come to the end of this video, and this is where I talk about the big surprise. So in order to show my gratitude for your continuous support on the app, on YouTube, by watching the videos, sharing the podcast, listening to the podcasts, and reading the blog, I'd like to take this opportunity to inform you that I am officially receiving your messages, your videos, your 2-minute videos, which I will share on the YouTube platform through my YouTube videos, as well as also on the blogs and on the podcast. All I need you to do is to send me a 2-minute video if you want to feature on video or on podcast talking about your business. I would ideally prefer if you tailored it like an ad, because I'm going to share it as an ad. So there are no specifications in regards to you having to pay me for anything. I'm just trying to support you, and also to show my appreciation for supporting Ask Me About the Law. So you can send the video on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also Snapchat. The handles are Ask Me About the Law. I'm also going to leave them in the description box of this video, so endeavor to check them out. And also share this video with a friend, so that if they need my help, I'm more as willing to help. Thank you very much for watching this YouTube video. If you enjoyed this YouTube video and would like to show appreciation, I'd very much appreciate it if you liked this video by hitting the thumbs up bell, the thumbs up tab under this YouTube video. I'd also appreciate it if you subscribe to this video, so that I can know and also continue sharing videos, especially in regards to this topic. Also, you can also share this video with a friend and family, especially if they really need to know more about data protection and privacy. Remember, you're listening and watching the Ask Me About the Law YouTube channel, where we have free and honest conversations about the law. Remember, I release new videos every Sunday at 7 p.m. so make it a point to hit that notification bell so that you're notified every time I post and share new videos. Until next week.
2,000 shillings or 720,000 shillings is what is spent on average to get groceries by any home in Uganda. Invest in our home gardening and urban farming. You will not only be able to harvest your groceries, but you will also be able to beautify your compound. Hey, do you also have land? Do you want to implement to set up some agribusiness venture for yourself, but you don't have the time? We are here for you. Check out our services, from home gardening and urban farming to beekeeping to rabbit farming, whatsoever, name it. Reach out to us. Let's offer you a service you will not regret. We can help you plan for your retirement. We can set up the big beekeeping you have been dreaming of. We can set up the rabbit farm you have been thinking of. Let's do this for you, and you won't regret it.